Did anybody tell you guys that you had to do this to protect your gimmick? Did anybody, the writer, anybody tell you guys that? Anybody just come to you and tell you, say, hey, man, I just want to give y'all a little advice. This is something you don't have to do. This is something where you can protect your gimmick and protect your character. If I were you, when I'd be out in public, I would stay in character. You don't have to talk to nobody. If you start to want to talk, then go. Keep moving. Keep moving. That's all you got to do.
I want to talk about Mark Henry. He was in the news recently where he made some comments about the Wyatt Sicks being actually disrespecting the business, according to him, by taking photos with fans unmasked at a Whataburger. He said, quote, "I'm disappointed because of how much money the company spends to invest creating the Wyatt Sicks. And then you go to a freaking Whataburger and take pictures with a fan," end quote. Bill, I know last week on the show you mentioned that you did not like the way the Wyatt Sicks was introduced.
Yuck.
Yes. What are your feelings about that? In today's environment of professional wrestling, it's hard to maintain kayfabe no matter what you do, isn't it?
It is, but you have to at least try and do it. To me, that was totally wrong. I'm still old school that way, that if a guy has a gimmick and, like the Wyatt Sicks go to a Whataburger and they're like, oh, just kind of hanging out and nice to the fans, that takes that whole thing away. I mean, I remember when I used to travel with the original Sheik, Ed Farhat, and we go to a restaurant with Ernie Roth, the Abdullah Farouk, the Grand Wizard afterwards. And Sheik, when he'd see fans coming in, he would eat with the food coming out of his mouth. He stayed in the I want to see a return to staying in the gimmick. But today, like Teddy always says, it's entertainment. They're doing a show next week about the backstage of WrestleMania 40, where they're just going to show all the opponents talking to each other and how they set this up and that up. So it's past that already. I'd love to see it back, but that era, unfortunately, is gone. And I agree with Mark Henry.
Teddy?
I certainly agree with him too, man. But here's, like I tell you guys, here's what we got to understand. I'd like to ask the Wyatt Sicks, I'd like to ask any one of them, did anybody tell you guys that you had to do this to protect your gimmick? Did anybody, the writer, anybody tell you guys that? Anybody just come to you and tell you, say, hey, man, I just want to give y'all a little advice. This is something you don't have to do. This is something where you can protect your gimmick and protect your character. If I were you, when I'd be out in public, I would stay in character. You don't have to talk to nobody. If you start to want to talk, then go. Keep moving. Keep moving. That's all you got to do. So somebody probably didn't even tell them. Didn't even think about even telling them how to protect their character.
No, it's showbiz, Teddy, like you saying, you know what? If it were me, I'd go to the drive-thru. I wouldn't sit in the Whataburger. And, the fans do recognize you, but that era is gone. It's totally gone. It doesn't matter anymore. All the heels, when they come out of that building, they can't wait to high-five the fans, take pictures. When I was growing up, if I waited for a heel and I'd say, can I take your picture or get an autograph? Get the hell away from me.
Well, that's the way I remember it too, as a young man, and I'm sitting here thinking, can you imagine if the Undertaker back during his run was going to Whataburger and taking pictures with the fans? He would have killed that Undertaker gimmick in a split second.
But he may have. We don't know.
Well, Undertaker wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I mean, he was smart enough to know better. And I think, Teddy, what you were saying was that the Wyatt Sicks, somebody may not have even clued them in before they did that, not to do that, and so they just did it. They didn't really think about it. It just didn't cross their mind.
Right? I don't blame them.
Yeah,
I don't blame. They don't know. Yeah. And if nobody told them, then they just don't know. And like I said, I just don't understand it, man. I really don't. But
there's no rules. You're now part of a movie, and when you get the cameras off and you leave the arena, you are back to you and not that character. Yeah. Simple.
I do want to mention too about the Wyatt Sicks. Bo Dallas did a video interview with himself. Now, Bill, before I say anything, what was your take on that interview with Bo Dallas and Uncle Howdy?
Again, I'm not a big fan of that whole thing. I think that they have to, I understand that they're trying to make a tribute and bring Bray Wyatt back in some fashion, but I thought that was too personal to be lumped into this gimmick that they have going on with this whole thing.
And that's where you and I disagree. I didn't say this last week. I was kind of quiet. I actually kind of like the Wyatt Sicks gimmick that's taking place right now. I'm enjoying that storyline. And I'll tell you something else. When it came to Bo Dallas in that video, I think it was so raw and real points that it really drew in. Curious to see what happens. I thought it was very well done. And I think Triple H made it clear too recently on the Pat McAfee show that Raw is going to change dramatically, WWE as well, when they hit Netflix, because there are no more rules. You know, they can go as far as they want. And I think we're starting to see elements of that creep in right now. And I think the Wyatt Sicks may be one of those key things that they're looking at when they jump to Netflix.
Yeah, but I don't think, I just real quick, I would have liked to have seen Bo Dallas do that divorced from this gimmick maybe months and months ago. I would have loved to have seen that. But it seems that they lumped it in with this whole Wyatt gimmick, and I just didn't feel it apropos to be in that thing. I really didn't.
Teddy, what were your thoughts?
Well, I just thought the way that the production part and the way it was put together, I thought that was very good. Like I said, I'm not so much into that story, so it's kind of, I'm like kind of confused. So I'd rather watch this a little bit further and kind of see exactly what they're doing, you know, where they're going with it.
Yeah,
they're pushing pro wrestling. Since Triple H took over, they're pushing pro wrestling, and now they have somebody come out scaring Michael Cole with a VHS tape and going like, watch this. And the fans that are watching this, that have been educated now for the past few months of pro wrestling, are going like, what the heck are they doing?
Well, we'll just see how it plays out. The ratings and the viewership will tell us everything we need to know when it comes to that.
Sports entertainment. They don't call it sports entertainment anymore. They call it pro wrestling.
Yeah, and you know, Triple H, this is something else he did say in the Pat McAfee show too. He wanted to remind everybody they are a television show about a sports environment. They're not, it's not, he was basically saying, we're just a TV show. We're just characters that are putting on a show about wrestling. He said that's what people need to understand going forward as we move forward into the Netflix era. And I think, you know, he may be right. People watch things in clips now. They don't watch the entire programs. And little clips like that seem so cinematic and are so powerful in a short amount can gain a lot of views. And views today means everything.
A Wyatt show for Netflix, like a 30-minute show, that would be great because it's out there, but it doesn't belong in what they're pushing as pro wrestling as far as I'm concerned. And people are going to call me an old fart and old school and all this kind of stuff. Fine, do it. But I'm watching 3 hours of Monday Night Raw and the hours of SmackDown. To put whatever you want to call it, it's pro wrestling. That's what I want to see, not this horror movie stuff.
Check out BrainBuster, the daily quiz that tests your WWE knowledge with winning streaks, stats, and more. It's time to see if you're up for the challenge.
Obviously, Drew McIntyre is not the only person that dislikes CM Punk. Violent J of the Insane Clown Posse had some harsh words for CM Punk. Are those who have the censor button, be ready, because I'm going to read this straight just like it is.
Hold on.
Oh, stop it.
What is that? Apter? Oh, you're part of the insane. Well, you're not. You probably won't like this.
Please stop it.
Here we go. This is what, again, this is what Violent J had to say. CM Punk for life.
Ooh.
You wouldn't shake our hands in TNA, little and you clown on the only real friend you had in Colt Cabana, you I shared my bank account with my mom before she passed, you little insensitive must be his favorite word. He goes on to say, you little heartless alien, suck my you little weak couldn't beat a jobber in UFC, you nearly pathetic little joke. Come beat me up. You suffer inside everyone, and they mama knows that. Get your head right, you little suffering, God almighty, ass. And that's
whoever is
Violent
doing
J.
the bleeping at Sportskeeda, I feel sorry for you. It's going to take
Hey,
you
brother,
a while.
I am sorry too, but that was just some vile stuff from Violent J. Bill, you showed the shirt. You know Violent J, don't you?
I know all of them. They were actually fans of mine during the magazine days, and I covered one of their shows, and they gave all the talent shirts with our names on the back of it. But after that, I might have to resign my ICP-ness.
Yeah.
No, whoa, that came out wrong. My ICP NESS.
What were your thoughts, though? I mean, why in the world? I mean, first of all, let me ask you, Insane Clown Posse, I don't know enough about these guys. You know Violent J, so let me just ask you, are these guys a little off kilter or something? Or is there something about these guys that I need to know?
They've got a crazy lifestyle. This is what they are. They're, I don't know if they're the same as when I knew them well, but they used to run this big festival with everybody being high many years ago. They invited me down to that. I think it was the only one not high. They've run their own wrestling company. And they're out of the box, but they've got 1 million fans.
Wow. Teddy, have you ever come across Violent J or the Insane Clown Posse?
Never met none of them at all. You know, I never heard anything bad about them. I always heard they were real nice guys, man.
They are. They're very cool guys.
Well, maybe he just had a bad day on Twitter or X, whatever it is.
Why you always trying to make excuses?
Well, maybe he's just being an language.
Okay.
No, this is the way that they are these kind of characters.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you.
That kind of language just goes along with their lifestyle. That's it. You know.
Wow. But I'm like Teddy, though. I have heard of them before. I've never heard anything bad about them. So I was surprised by the attack and the words used against CM Punk. If it weren't for CM Punk being in WWE, I might have thought, well, it's an angle. He's going to show up in their Fed and do something. All right, guys. And I don't mean to rush this, but I do have one more thing that Sportskeeda sent for us.
Stop rushing.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to. But Sportskeeda wanted to know if we would read answer an email that they had. In the email, let me grab it real quick here. Jonathan, this is in South Dakota, wants to know, what was your worst experience with a promoter? Now, we don't have to mention names or anything like that. Just the experience is all we're looking for. I'm not looking to throw anybody under the bus. So, if you guys have something, Bill, do you have anything working with promoters that?
Well, I got a lot of them, but I'll pick one in particular. Back in the day, as they say, I was in Austin, Texas, and I was traveling with Terry Funk. And the main event that night in Austin, Texas was Terry Funk and Ivan Putski. And the promoter came out, said, "Who are you?" And I said, "Who I am. What are you doing here tonight?" I'm shooting pictures. Terry said, "This is Bill Apter." No, he's not shooting pictures here. He's not going to publish anything that's in here unless he pays me something, because he's going to make money off of what I do. I said, "No, it's for publicity for them." So getting ready to throw me out of the building. And Terry Funk says, "If you don't let Apter shoot, Putski and I aren't going to the ring tonight."
Wow.
That's how serious it was. Yeah. And They both started to walk out with me.
The promoter changed his mind, obviously.
Her mind.
Yeah. Teddy, how about you? Any horror stories from promoters that you can share? Again, we don't have to talk names or anything, but
You don't tell me whether to call anybody's name or not. If I want to call their name, I'll call their name.
Call it out, brother. Call it out.
Okay. Now, I'll tell you one. Back in the day when I was first breaking in, I went to work for some promoter. I can't remember his name, but it was in Birmingham, Alabama. Okay, but anyway, I didn't book myself. Somebody booked me over there, so that's why I really don't know who he was. But anyway, at the end there, everybody came in to get ready to get their pay, and so he wasn't paying anybody. So he said he couldn't pay me. Well, I was there with Gary Hart, God rest his soul. Gary was there, and me and Gary, we always got along. And I went and spoke to Gary about it, and well, he didn't pay Gary either. He wasn't going to pay anybody. So Gary got hot, and Gary is known for keeping a switchblade, keeping a knife. Okay, so the next thing I know, Gary took that knife. I walked over to him, and the first thing he did, he snatched his coat, and with the knife, he tagged his coat with it.
Yeah.
And he told him, he said, "You get everybody's money, and you get it right now." And the guy went, and Gary went with him, and the guy paid all of us. But he said he didn't make the money; he wasn't going to pay us.
Wow.
Unreal.
We had a show down here where a promoter tried to bring in all these legends into Dudley.
Oh,
Georgia.
I know where you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't remember what the guy's name was, but
I was there. That was in Dublin. Something that old rundown high school and stuff.
It was an old elementary school, and that school it's
Dublin, Georgia. Not the country.
It wasn't really Dublin. It was outside of Dublin in a town called Dudley. It's a little small town kind of area. But that guy brought in all this talent, and he had this big build up to the show, but he didn't really promote it well enough. And not many people came, but all the legends were there, but the money wasn't there. And later that night, things got even more and more heated. I can tell you before I left, Arn Anderson made sure that he got his money before he got out of there in ways that I won't talk about, but he got his damn money. And before it was all said and done, I believe everybody got paid because he ended up going to court and everything else. But he screwed a lot of the legends, and a lot of the people who are watching right now who were booked on that show probably remember that as one of the worst experiences they ever had in recent memory, because that was one big block.
Me and Ron Simmons were there. We didn't get paid, but we happened to what's the little kid the guy that works for Laureato, that a sheriff guy,
Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson.
Yeah, Chris. Yeah, well, we were there with Chris, and Chris, was the deputy sheriff there, and Chris went and stayed on top of this guy, and Chris finally called us like maybe a month later, and he got our money for us, and he got us paid. So thank you, Chris.
Yeah, Chris was is a good guy. He actually broke into business with me. We both trained at the same time, came in the business. He was a lot younger than I was, but we broke in together. So I've known Chris.
What they got to do with anything?
I just want to say that Chris understands the business, and he would look out for anybody if he had to.
The worst thing.
I'm younger than me, and I don't know.
Oh, shut up, Teddy.
The worst thing with a promoter, and I'm not going to go into it, was Vince McMahon Jr. when he banned all the magazines. We weren't allowed in anymore. So, another story. By the way, Mac Davis, that picture of you above you looks like just incredible. It does. Yeah. And I want to say something about you.
That fixes that problem right there, then.
No, I want to say that.
Oh, now you want to take it down.
That's it.
Do the whole show now. Now he wants to take it down.
I want to say that you are just incredible. And there's a lot of fans that don't know where you came from. They don't know. Just give the fans a brief thing of.
He came from Savannah, Georgia. That's where he came from.
Oh, that's it, Georgia. Tell people a little bit about your background, Mac.
When it pertains to this show,
I think we're out of time.
Yeah, we are running out of time. We sure are. We'll have to catch up next time. No, real quick, as it goes to this show, I do have background in wrestling. I was an independent wrestler for a period of time. I've done just about everything you can imagine when it comes to wrestling on the independent levels, at least. And I worked along with Teddy Long quite a bit at various shows. And Bill Apter, I actually worked with quite a long time as well. That's my background, basically. So in a nutshell, for those who ever want to know. So if I say something when it comes to being in the ring or getting hurt, it's because I know what I'm talking about. It hurts. So that's it. We're out of here. Anything coming up for you guys?
You said a nutshell. Are you talking about Teddy Long's head?
No. I'm talking about the nut job, Teddy Long. See right there? By the way, we had you got to go by, before we get out of here, go by Road Trip After Hours on YouTube. Look it up. We had Matt Cardona on the show recently, and Matt had some interesting things in this interview to talk about. I did talk to him just a couple of days ago after we've already done the interview, and I asked him, when it came to wrestling figures and the collection of collecting those things, what is a most expensive item? The most expensive item is worth $30,000. This is a small little toy prototype, and I'm trying to remember who it was. I believe it may be the Honky Tonk Man, I think may be who it is. And it's a prototype of some type, and nobody knows where it is. Nobody can get their hands on it, but worth $30,000. So those little figures, tell you, that we were talking to him about on that show, they're worth some serious bucks.
Did he talk about his lovely wife, who's now going to be in Money in the Bank, Chelsea Green?
I didn't bring her up because I wanted to focus on him, but I wanted to, but I just felt like in our short interviews that we do, I wanted to stay focused on him and not talk about his wife. So,
thank you. That's the nicest thing he said in a long, long time. Thank you, Mac. Now that's business.
Teddy, how's your?
I didn't know you had it in you. Wow.
Teddy's had a busy day today. Actually, he's been really busy all week long because he keeps having to go to the laundromat because his washing machine and dryer are broken.
Did I ask you to tell them that?
So he's doing that all the time now.
Oh, so now you done exposed me.
I think we got to get out of here. I think we're out of time. This is Bill Apter. See you at the matches.
That's it? Yeah.
That's it. Go.
I'm out of here.
Whatever you want to say. Holla, holla, Daddy.